Hey, what's going on everybody? Alex here with Freedom Mowers. I hope you all are doing well. Got a nice crusty treat for us today. We are going to be working on this 2014 Ariens 42-inch cut riding mower. This is basically like a LT1000 Craftsman. They were all about the same. They have that style hood and deck. This was going to the scrapyard, and it is in pretty rough condition. I'll show y'all right off the bat. The biggest thing that I noticed was that the deck is split, and it is split all the way across, even onto the rear mount. I don't know if this one's going to be able to be saved. I do have another deck for this one. I'll kind of give y'all just an overview of everything I've noticed, just kind of looking over it. We are working with a 17.5 Briggs & Stratton. Says power built, but it's an Intech single cylinder. I did notice that they put a new starter solenoid on here, and the ground is not hooked up at all. It's just sitting. You can see the little tab over there. Starter wire is about to fall out. More than likely someone's had the upper cover off. Yep, because there's no bolts in the shroud. I believe that the other three tires, I did pump that one up a little bit to get it over here. The other ones, or the back, we're holding. This one will not hold air. Almost as soon as I pump air in it, it's coming right out of the sidewall. There's a split. I did look. There's fuel in here, and it actually looked pretty fresh. The tank was surprisingly clean for how crusty it is. The oil is almost up to the full mark. I mean, it's a little dirty, but it's not black. So these, oh, there's a nice little friend right there. The usual. That looks like it's soaked in oil or something too. Yeah, there's another one in there too. Oh yeah, there's a few. Gross. Yeah, there is a battery in it too. Don't know how old. Oh my goodness. Can't see. Oh wow. All right, so February of this year, so this battery should at least be good. Heck, that right there is like 60-70 bucks just by itself. This was free. Someone had reached out to me, asked if I wanted to come get it before they took it to the scrap yard, because it was basically worthless. It wouldn't cut for them, you know. Obviously it's not going to cut anymore. The deck's dragging the ground. The gear drive on it still seemed like it's clicking through the gears, but it is extremely stiff. So that's what we're working with here. So let me clear some space in the shop, and we'll get this pulled in and see if this can be salvaged. I did forget to mention outside, it's not locked up. It doesn't feel. I think it's kind of rust welded to the pulleys down there. Let me get y'all on the tripod. We'll raise this up a little bit, and then we'll kind of take a peek underneath too, because I haven't looked at the drive belt or the deck belt or anything like that. But all right, let's take a look at our belts. Surprisingly, this deck belt seems to be in pretty good shape. I don't even see any cracking or anything like that on the inside of it. Sorry, I'm trying to get around this zip tie here that's holding the front of the deck. Our drive belt, it's got a little bit of cracking on it, but it doesn't seem to be too bad. Guess I'll go ahead and see if I can just kind of free this thing up by hand. I think it's just kind of stuck. I don't know. It feels like it's hitting something hard. Let me get y'all on the tripod here, and I'm going to pop this hood off because it's going to continue causing problems. Alright, got the hood off from here. Apparently the connector had melted and the wires were, well, one of the wires was totally ripped, the other one was holding on by a thread, so we'll have to, I gotta take that off before this thing shorts itself out if we do end up getting this thing to crank over. So I'm gonna go ahead and maybe pull the plug out on this, if it'll come off. That way hopefully can spin it a little easier. Plug doesn't look too bad. Actually, it looks like it was firing pretty decent there. Alright. Oh my lord. It like gets to this one spot and it's like stuck. I'm gonna spray some penetrating spray down in the cylinder too. Alright, got some old peanut butter blaster in there. Let's see if that helps at all. I think what I'm going to do is get on the crankshaft with this and just kind of turn it slow, see if it'll go. I don't know what this thing is stuck on. Let me work on freeing this thing up for a little bit and I'll let y'all know what the heck I got to do. Alright, well I've gone ahead and taken the upper shroud off. It appears to me that the coil is just contacting the flywheel on here, so I'm gonna go ahead and spray these bolts down just a little bit and see if we can get these broke loose and back that coil off a little bit and see if we can get this thing free, because I cannot move this thing right now. It keeps getting to like one spot and then gets stuck. So alright, well I did go ahead and spray this down and back these off. Once I got that backed off, it did spin. It spins almost free now, but I don't know if y'all can hear that noise. I can't figure out what that sound is. It almost sounds like something underneath of the flywheel is loose. And let's see if we can pop this flywheel off and see if there's anything going on underneath of there. Alright, got you guys where y'all can see. Got this 15th, 16th, and I got my big 1/2-inch drive electric impact. That thing right there is like the flywheel bolt puller. That's a strong, oh yeah, look at that, that's cute. Oh my lord. I'm gonna have to spray this whole shop down for some bugs. I don't know if y'all could see the roaches and baby roaches flying out of here. I'm gonna put the bolt back in, run it down, put a little pressure underneath of the flywheel, and give it a good tap with my little mini sledge. Now you can do this with a puller or whatever you want to do. This is a method that I've seen other people use and works just fine. You just gotta put your whatever you're prying underneath of a spot that's not going to damage it. Get some upward pressure and then just give it a wrap. There it goes. Flywheel key. Maybe we can see if there's something getting hung up underneath of here. More cockroaches. So I kept hearing all this clicking and trying to figure out what's going on. Well, it looks to me like every single one of the magnets has come off the flywheel. These are supposed to be on the flywheel itself. Yeah, there's like 2 left on here. Now there's 1. Yeah, they're supposed to be all the way around. So this flywheel's trashed. That's what all that noise was and all that binding up. It was stuck because it's just basically smashing the magnets up against the stator here. I'm gonna see if I can locate in my parts. I don't know if I have one of those or not, but I'm gonna see if I can locate another flywheel. All right, well, we might be in luck here. I forgot I had this one out in the shop in my parts area. This one was another single cylinder Intech. I think this was a 19, but this one had catastrophic failure. All right, well, we do have success. I used my puller here to get this one off. I couldn't really get any leverage with the pry bar like I did up top here, so I found a couple bolts that fit. These ones are already pre-drilled, so I was able to get a couple bolts to fit down in these threaded holes, and popped right off as well. So I've got this on, and I slid the key down in there, and as you guys can see, we are rolling over smooth now. So I think we got that tackled. I do need to see if I've got another starter. I'm hoping that this one still can at least test with it, see if everything's going to turn over, see if we can get some sparklation happening. So we'll get that lined up. I'm gonna make sure I get the key all the way down in there and everything's set, and then we'll torque this down. And then I think from there we can kind of, I guess, at least check for spark before we get too far. I don't know if you guys remember earlier when I was talking about this solenoid that's just kind of dangling here. There is a pair of wires that's hooked up on the back. So on your 4-post you have a big positive wire that comes from the solenoid, goes to your starter. The other side goes back to your battery. All that's hooked up. And then with your other 2 posts that you got, the smaller prongs, one side is going to be ground, the other side is going to be a signal wire. The one they still have connected here, I think we can just take that off. And I was kind of looking, because I was just checking the battery on here as well, and we have 12.47 volts, so we should be good to go. I've got the foot brake down, and you know, we've got a whole lot of nothing going on here, but there is a white wire. Can't even really, hard for me to get it on camera, but there is a white wire back here with a connector, and I believe that one, let's see if y'all can see it from there. It's right next to the red cap. But anyhow, I believe that is the signal wire. So what I'm gonna do is I'll get the multimeter, we'll hook it up, we'll ground one side, and then we'll check to see if we're getting 12 volts to that signal. And then we should just be able to take that black wire off from the solenoid and plug in the white, and then we should be getting all the power to the solenoid to be able to turn this over. Then we can check for spark. I went ahead and put my positive lead into that white wire, which should be our signal, and I'll just ground this to get a little good spot on the engine. So we have nothing obviously in the off position, but now let me go ahead. So I'm going to turn it. This is the start position right there, or to engage the starter, 1226. So that should be our signal wire. All I should have to do at this point is, let me move this out of the way. This white wire is just hidden. Now I should be able to just plug this in. All right, I think we're connected there. Try to just tuck it out the way. So now we should be able to check for spark. Got the plug back in here, and we'll try to find at least a little bit of a spot on here. Maybe we can get a good ground. All right, here we go. Actually, I gotta turn it where y'all can see. If you guys can see that or not, but we've got, definitely have good spark. Let me go ahead and get this back down on the ground, and we'll dribble a little bit of fuel down into the spark plug hole, and then we'll just thread in the plug and see if we can get this thing to fire off. Shouldn't need to choke or anything like that. Let me make sure this throttle's working and we're not going to be stuck wide open. The throttle is definitely off too. Like the cable is not going all the way down. And what the hell did they do to this thing? All right. Here we go. Contact. No? Maybe some chocolator? I might not have put enough fuel in there, to be honest. Jesus. Maybe there's too much fuel. He's backfiring like crazy. So let me guess, we got a stuck valve too, or what? Let's see. Alright, well this is starting to turn into a real poop show here, guys. What I didn't do earlier was my due diligence to really inspect the old flywheel versus this one. So if you look at the keyway, at the 6 o'clock position, basically at, well, if I'm trying to get it straight vertical, but about the 7 o'clock position is where the pickup magnet is. Well, if we look at this one, we're about the 4 o'clock position, so timing is way off, just as I had suspected. So that one is not going to work. So now on to the second engine that I've got here that's blown up. This one appears to have the right flywheel, so at the 6 o'clock or vertical, we're right at about 7, and this one looks just like the other one as well. Also, this one should have a good starter on it, so we should be able to repair the flywheel and the starter with this blown up engine. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this, throw it on there, and then we will go ahead and check to see if we can finally get this thing to kick over and run for us. All right, flywheel number 3 is on. This one did. Everything looks good on it. Everything looks like it matched up. I can try to put just a little bit more fuel down in the throat here. Fingers crossed on this one. This thing is a pain in the butt. I shouldn't have to choke it. Wow, that is running incredibly smooth. Success, finally. Then got the dogs all stirred up and everything. Oh, that's good to hear, because this thing, I mean, you guys see a little snippet of it, but I've already been working on this thing for like, I don't know, 2 hours, 2.5 hours or something like that. So just trying to get the camera set up, moving stuff around. But awesome. I don't want to run it too long with the shroud off. That way we don't get the engine too hot or anything. But I have got a huge mess here to clean up. That way we can kind of move forward and see what we got going on. But that is a big win right there. I'm super pumped. Hopefully you guys are too, because that's been a pain. I should have just looked. It looked like the flywheels would have just matched up just fine. Clearly not. It was way off on the timing, so it would have never ran like that. That's why it was just backfiring and loading up with fuel. We'll just kick it over one more time. I'll shut it down and then I'll get cleaned up. So smooth. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Obviously it's gonna need, you know, some carb work and stuff like that. I still need to swap out the starter, but we'll jump on that as soon as I get cleaned up in here. All right, I just took the starter off from the other engine that we got the flywheel from. Just had to take off the nut for the positive on here. And then we should just have 2 1/2-inch nuts to get this off. Our starter is out. In with the new. Just give it a quick test. Awesome. New used starter installed. All right, I'm gonna go get some Fix-A-Flat, but I think this is the only one that seems to be losing air. All right, well, I've had this tire holding air for about 30 minutes now. Just going over a few things on here. I did put the upper shroud back on. I just have a couple bolts loosely tacked in place so it doesn't fly off. I've got to get the right hardware. I bent this little heat shield back into place. I put some baling wire on the mowing deck just to hold it up because this side was the one that was dragging on the ground. That way hopefully we can move this thing. But we're gonna go ahead and see if it'll move now, and before I try to pull it out here, I want to see if it's charging as well.
So it looks like we're overcharging, so yet another problem on here. Shouldn't be charging at over 16 volts. You're gonna cook the battery like that. I'm gonna see if it'll at least drive. So we may be taking the stator off one of these other ones. That we have no reverse. Alright.
Oh my goodness, this thing is a hot mess. Well, it looks like we have forward gears, so maybe I'll just try to push it out here for now. Let's see if we can at least move it. And this is getting worse and worse. So now we're gonna have to replace the stator on here. I don't know, what do y'all think? Should this have just gone to the scrap yard? I guess parts machine? Good grief.
Does drive well though. There's no noise on the drive belt. I don't want to run it too long with it charging the battery like that. It's not too bad at idle because it's only about 14 volts. Steering works. I know there's no brakes because I had the brakes on earlier and I just pulled it across the shop. Got no reverse. Ay, ay, ay. All right. Pull it back in for another repair.
One of the other things I was taking a peek at, I was just trying to see, because that transmission, the lever was so stiff earlier, I was looking underneath of here, and kind of like on the hydrostatics, there's like a bolt that helps you adjust to center the adjustment for the hydrostatic. But since this one's a gear drive, it also has one too, and I think that's just to kind of adjust for play in here, maybe, or maybe if there's like a bend or something in the lever. And I'm wondering if maybe at some point, since it was so stiff, maybe this slid over, because it's not centered at all. It's all the way back, which I think would pretty much not allow us to go in reverse. Like it just won't go far enough back to catch reverse. So let me see what size this is and see if we can make an adjustment. The bolt that I'm talking about is right here. You can see where the adjuster is all the way in one direction, but I did check. It's a 1/2 inch. I'll go ahead and break that loose. Wasn't even really that tight. Alright, so I don't know why I'm having such a difficult time with lighting here to show y'all. But now I've got that somewhat centered up. You can see where the little knurling marks are where it was. But I'll get that centered up, and then I'll kind of slightly tighten that up and see. So that should be center right there. And we'll go ahead and snug that down. Alright, well, I had to do a little bit more fine tuning with that adjustment, but now it's going in just fine. And then there's neutral. And I also went underneath where the linkage goes into the top of the transmission. I sprayed that all down with PB Blaster, and also on the side here where the shifter goes through. And now still a little stiff, but I can actually feel the gears it actually selecting. So it should be neutral. That's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So we should have all speeds. Alright guys, next day, and wanted to give you all an update. So I think the last clip I showed you guys, it was charging fine. Well, once I took the battery, the jumper pack off from it and checked it again, the voltage shot back up to about 17 volts. And I think what was happening is because I have a good battery in here, and then the jumper pack was a good battery too, that the charging system is still trying to overcharge it, but it just had so much battery to try to charge that it wasn't quite showing it when I had both hooked up. So what I ended up doing is, on that other engine that we had, that one had the voltage regulator set up on it. So I ended up having to take the flywheel back off, put the new or another stator on here, which is the 1-wire stator. So the yellow wire comes down, and then this plastic plate is already set up to mount one of these voltage regulators. And so I went ahead and mounted that. It just has a ground wire that comes off and goes to the starter bolt, and then you have one wire that comes out, and that goes to basically power up the system on here and charge everything. But the old one was a 2-wire. One was for power, the other one went straight to headlights. I had to combine these 2 wires and then just join that up with the one positive, and we are good to go now. It's charging perfectly at like 13.9, 14 volts, full throttle, and then back off. Everything is functioning the way it should now, so I'm happy with that. Only thing I know, we still got to fix the rear brakes, and I got to find a seat for it, but we're pretty much just going to do a whole lot of detailing at this point. I did get another mower deck prepped. This one came off from another, I think this one was off a DLT 3000, but they're all the same, except for this one's got the nice fancy 4 anti-scalp wheels on it. But I threw a coat of paint on here, got this prepped and ready to go. So as soon as we get this thing all cleaned up, we can get this deck mounted on here. I am going to do a separate video on showing the detailing process of how I clean these up and get them ready to be able to sell, because I've had a lot of people ask me, you know, how I clean them up to look so nice, and I'll just kind of give you guys a rundown on that. But taking this mower deck off, if you're not familiar with it, you got one pin here, there's another pin that goes to the cable, the engagement cable, and then on the other end of the engagement cable there's another pin and a washer. Take that one off. You've got one pin here, there's another one on the other side that's in the same spot. Then we have the two links in the front, those need to be taken off, and then your belt, and I believe that's it. And then you should just be able to drop it down and slide it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing pulled off and start getting this thing cleaned up, and I will check in with you guys as soon as we're done with that, and we can finally start testing this thing out and hopefully wrap up this mower. All right, well, I think we are pretty much done with this thing. Put a lot of time and effort into this, but I think we have a really nice machine here. Got that side discharge on. This one has the 4 anti-scout wheels. We've got good blades on here. I mean, everything cleaned up really nice on this machine. The only thing that's kind of missing is you know, just some of the white lettering that used to be on here for the deck engagement and the throttle. But overall, I think this turned out really sharp from what it was. And you guys saw all the repairs we had to do on this thing. It's been through multiple stators and charging systems. You know, it had a bad deck on it. The, let's see, what was it? The starter solenoid on here. I cleaned out the fuel system. Carb seems to be doing okay, but I'd still like to do a rebuild on it. But yeah, this thing was kind of a handful. We had the figuring out the reverse on here, getting brakes working back on it. So I think we've got this thing pretty well dialed in. Let me see if I got the brake set. We should be able to just crank it right up now. Thing looks really sharp. I'm gonna get y'all on the tripod. We'll go out yonder and cut some grass, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate y'all sticking with me. And this mower turned out really good. It's running good. It just needs a couple little small things, but it should be, you know, I got plenty of time before spring gets here to tidy that up. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think as far as price range on this mower come springtime, what you would pay for it or what would it go for in your area. I really appreciate y'all checking out the channel and watching the repairs and having some fun with me. So on that note, let freedom ring, let those small engines sing. I'll see you all next time.